If I had hair to pull out, I would do it because there are no houses available. We have a huge inventory problem, and I'm going to explain why that's the case. Hey guys, Alex Brackey with the Valor Group. I want to explain today why nationwide there is a shortage in housing. There's actually an explanation for this, and when you understand what that explanation is, you also understand why some hypothetical crash of the housing market, frankly, isn't going to happen. There is no crash coming. And when you understand, again, some of these underlying factors, you understand very quickly why this notion of a housing crash is frankly ridiculous. So why is inventory so low? A few variables. Number one that I like to point out, what is the largest generation out there that is of home ownership age, so to speak? Most people probably would guess baby boomers, when in fact, that's not accurate. Believe it or not, baby boomers are not the largest generation. They're not even the second largest generation right now. They are the third largest. You actually have Gen Z is the second largest, and millennials are the biggest generation that are home ownership age right now. Why does that matter? Typically, as folks get older and older and older, they often will age out of their home, right? They would either move in with family, they would move to maybe a care facility, but they were leaving the home that they had owned for some time, and it came back into the market and almost got recycled into a cycle of home ownership. It came back into the market. Oftentimes, maybe a younger family was buying that, and the cycle starts over. What's happening, though, is that people are living longer, right? They're just living longer than they used to. And so you've got that issue, is that the older generations, they are living longer than they did, say, 30, 40 years ago. And coupled with that is there are simply just more options out there for home healthcare. So people are living longer and they're able to stay in their home longer. So that's point number one, is that the inventory problem, some of these homes that normally folks would be aging out of and would come back into the cycle of home ownership aren't hitting that cycle. So they're not. Our inventory is getting squeezed from the top with that in that respect. In addition, we're getting squeezed from the bottom because, as I mentioned, you've got the millennial generation, which is the largest home ownership age generation right now, followed by Gen Z, which is actually the second biggest. Both of them are bigger than the baby boomer generation. And so they are all coming of age now. And I think the youngest Gen Zs at this point are I'm going to probably misquote this, but they're somewhere around the age of 24. At this point as I'm recording this. So these are all folks, all of the millennials, all of the Gen Zs are all home ownership age at this point. And so you've got this massive number of people that are coming into the market, and part of this was disguised for about 10 years because millennials, for whatever reason, put off home ownership for a period of time. And so the one thing that could have saved us from this problem of low inventory, right? High demand, not enough houses for the number of people that want to buy them. The one thing that could have saved us from this was home building, right? Creating simply more homes for people to buy and live in. But the problem is that is the very thing that fell off of a cliff after the 2008 housing crash. We were building homes at a pretty consistent clip up until 2008, going back many decades. And when 2008 happened, home builders really got whacked, like many folks, right? I mean, it wasn't exclusively home builders, but what we saw was those numbers, the number of homes that were being built every single year fell off a cliff and stayed there for a long time. And so we frankly should have been building a lot more houses since 2008. I mean, 15, 16 years in now of not building enough homes. And so frankly, it's just going to take time to kind of build out of this hole that we have dug for ourselves. And so that's why you've got such an inventory crunch across the country. And I don't see any end in sight to this because, again, we have massive generations, bigger than baby boomers, that are here. They're ready to buy houses. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. And frankly, our baby boomers, they have a long time left yet before they may be aging out of their home. And so it's simply going to be a matter of having to build our way out of this problem, and that's just going to take time. So guys, when you hear about a housing crash coming, a price crash, that can only happen if demand falls off of a cliff. And frankly, that's not going to happen. Guys, there's no housing crash coming, and If you understand those underlying problems, you understand why we have a housing shortage.